and welcome back to Love Your Food. This week we're doing another Mexican recipe. This is for chicken tinga, and we're making tacos out of these. Now, chicken tinga is a Puebla recipe. It's sort of a newer Mexican recipe. This is not a particularly traditional presentation of it, but we're going to try and show you a really delicious recipe for this. A great summer dish, and we're going to start off with our ingredients. So we have some chicken we've already roasted, some annatto or achiote. We're going to use a chipotle pepper, some garlic, some shallot, and some onion, as well as some tomato. And we're also going to be using some cilantro. Now, parsley is, strangely enough, more traditional in this dish, but we're going to be using cilantro because we just like it better in the dish. So the first thing we're going to do, we have these beautiful bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs. Now, these have already been roasted. We're going to put a link to a nice roasted chicken recipe. You can do whatever you prefer as far as roasting your chicken for flavor profile here. And then the final dish is going to come together, and then you're going to see a new flavor profile emerge. So we're going to take the skin off because we want to crisp it up a little bit. So we're going to pop that into a frying pan, and we're going to get this nice and crispy. So we're just going to put that in the frying pan. We're going to put that skin side up and just let that get nice and crispy in there while we prepare our chicken. So we're just going to remove all of the roast chicken from the bones here. And as I said, whatever you like as far as your flavor profile for your chicken. We're just using a nice roasted chicken here. And you want to make sure you're getting any bits of cartilage or anything out of there. You don't want any little tough bits because what we're going to be doing is pulling this. So we're going to be just making it into little strings. So next step is we're going to get our onion ready. So we're going to slice this, after some deliberation, into rings or half rings. Now it's going to cook for some time, so they will get soft and it will wilt up a little bit. And then we're just going to chop up the garlic really well, nice and small as well. There we go. So for the garlic, we do want it in a really, really small little mince. And then for the shallots, again, we're just going to do the same as we did for the onions and make that into the half rings. And there we go. So that's all of our nice aromatics. Meanwhile, we're going to get our dry spices ready. So we've got our dry chipotle pepper, which is just a smoked jalapeno, and the annatto or achiote. And we're just going to grind that into a nice fine powder. So we've got that in our spice grinder, and we're just going to make sure that that gets broken up really good and fine. Sometimes it takes a little bit of shaking, and we're going to add that a little bit later. So meanwhile, when your chicken skins are starting to get a little bit toasty, now you just want to leave them skin side up. You don't want to put them skin side down for the cooking process. But once they start getting a little bit toasty, you can start smelling that. We're going to take those out and let them drain a little bit. We are going to use these. We're not just doing this to render out the fat from them. However, we are going to use that rendered fat. So let these drain for a little while, let them dry out a little bit, and they will get beautiful and crispy. Meanwhile, we're going to get our onions, shallots, and garlic into the pan with that nice, flavorful chicken grease. We're just going to give that a little toss, make sure everything gets coated in the oil. And you want to break up any of your little bits of onion and shallot to make sure they're all sort of separated. Let those cook for a little while, and when they get a little bit transparent, we're going to add our nice spice mix. Now the annatto or achiote is going to be it's going to add a very red color to everything. It's really quite a dramatic color. So do be careful if you're cooking this. Make sure anything that the oil sits on gets washed pretty promptly because it will stain. A little dash of salt in there, and let those cook while we prepare our tomatoes. We're going to cut these into a pretty big dice, these tomatoes. We do want a little bit of texture from these. And it does help to have a very, very sharp knife to cut through. So we're going to take our tomatoes once everything has wilted a little bit in the pan, you can see there, and we're just going to add that right in. Now, of course, this is going to add a lot of liquid to your pan, so just give it a little toss and make sure that everything is well combined while it's cooking. It's good for this to be on about a medium heat. And let all those great flavors infuse with each other, and that is looking great. So while that is cooking together, we are going to pull our chicken. So what we've done here, we're just grabbing 2 forks and we're going to just pull all the little bits apart or make it into little strings. You don't want it to be like pasty or a mush or anything. You just want to pull it apart until it's in quite small little pieces, until it looks something like this. So once it's here, this is pretty much done. If you have any like really big pieces left in there that you feel like you want to shred up a little bit more, then feel free. If you want a little bit more texture, then leave some of those bigger pieces. That is just fine. And then we're going to get our cilantro ready. So we're going to give that a little chop. And we're going to use part of this in the cooking and part of it at the end for garnish, or actually for topping on our tacos. So there's a small amount of it into the recipe here. And you can see everything stewing together here. A lot of the liquid has come out of the tomatoes. The onions and shallots and everything have cooked down quite a lot. So it's time to add our chicken. Now this chicken has been room temperature for some time because we've been handling it, we've been shredding it. So we're just going to add that in there, give everything a good stir. There you go. So everything will be well combined and get some of those great flavors going all together with the chicken. And we're just going to cook this until it cooks down a little bit. You don't want a whole lot of liquid left in there. So you can see here it's already a little bit drier. The chicken does absorb some of the liquid. And until the chicken's heated all the way through. So once we're there, it's really ready to eat. So we're just going to give it a little taste, make sure it doesn't need any flavor adjustment. So now would be the time to add a little bit of salt and pepper, anything else that you think it might still need. What we are going to add is a little bit of lime juice to it. And while we're at it, we're going to cut this lime into a few pieces because we're going to use that as topping as well. So we're going to take that one slice of lime, we're going to squeeze it over our pan here. And also while you're doing this, try to give it a twist because you'll get a little bit of that lime oil from the skin, from the zest into your dish, and that will help. It'll really kick it up a little bit with a beautiful little aromatic hit of lime. So meanwhile, we're going to chop up our crispy skin. This is going to be topping for our, you can see how crispy that is. It's just crumbling into little tiny crumbs, which is perfect. It's beautiful and crispy. Really nice textural element to your dish. More traditional for this would be a Mexican style cheese, but we are using feta for this because it's got a really nice flavor. And we just love it with Mexican food. It actually works really, really well. And then we're just a little bit of red onion. And we're just going to give that sort of a little fine dice here. Well, not a fine dice. We just want it in nice little small pieces. And there we go for that. And there's our chicken skin, the cilantro, the lime, and the feta. Once you have all that in place, it's ready to go. So we heated up some of these beautiful corn tortillas. Put a little bit of your filling. This is maybe a little bit much. You don't want to overfill your tacos. So some of your excellent filling. We're going to top that with a little bit of the cilantro. A little bit of the chicken skin. some of that nice, fresh, sharp red onion, and then a little bit of that cheese. And serve that with a wedge of lime. And then when you go to eat it, that's when you just give it a little spritz of the lime. You don't want to use the whole thing on a single taco because just a little dash is really going to perk everything up in there and make everything really delicious. And there's your chicken tinga soft tacos. That's it. That is the whole thing. Really quite a simple recipe. If you have some leftover roasted chicken, or you want to do something like this, then feel free to roast a bunch and then save some, and you'll have a beautiful dish to make. So if you like this recipe, please do like and subscribe. And if you have any recipes you'd like to see Chef Caleb try on the channel, please let us know in the comments below. And remember to love your food.